What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV, where I give my initial reactions, my hot takes, and my analysis on the drummers of today and yesterday, and maybe tomorrow if I stick around that long. I'm a professional drum teacher and a gigging musician, and I have been for the last 20 plus years. And today, May 14th, it is the second anniversary of my channel, and I wanted to do something kind of special. I started this May 14th, 2019. My very first video was Neil Peart doing Tom Sawyer, because what better drummer to start a YouTube channel than to start with him? And after 116 React videos, I think I've got about 140 some videos altogether, I am going to do the John Bonham isolated track from Full in the Rain. I've been thinking all week, trying to figure out the perfect video to do on my second year anniversary, and a couple days ago I was teaching a student how to play the halftime shuffle, and I was giving him examples like Steely Dan. I can't remember which Steely Dan track it was, and then I ran across this video and I was like, dude, this is perfect. It was kismet, if you will. This obviously is not a classic React video, because if you watch this channel, you know that I am a gigantic John Bonham fan, so much so that there is a 60-pound pit bull right there named Bonham. So before I get into it, I would like to thank everyone over the last 2 years who has liked, commented, and shared, even the shitty comments. Thank you. Everyone on my Patreon who supports me, anyone who has gone out of their way to, spread my disease across YouTube and social media. I am humbled by the response that I have gotten from this channel over the last 2 years. And this will be the last video made at the townhouse, because I am moving. If you can already tell, there's already a bunch of stuff going over there. And I'm going to take the rest of May off, because May is my birthday month, and I will see you all back in June. So again, thank you everyone. During the recording of this video, I am at 37,000 subs and like 5.6 million views, and that far exceeds any expectation that I had when I first got into this. And man, I watched that first video the other day, and I had not figured it out yet, but hopefully I have it figured out. So anyway, thank you all very much. This is just a little appreciation video to you. And of course, we're going to be watching, well, not watching, because we're only going to be listening to the isolated drum track of, maybe if you were going to put a groove on Mount Rushmore, you would put Full in the Rain there, right? I'm pretty sure that would be a Mount Rushmore groove. In the comment section, everyone discuss, what do you think is a Mount Rushmore groove? So 2 years in, baby, and I ain't stopping except for the month of May. So let's watch the master, John Henry Bonham, Led Zeppelin, Full in the Rain. Well, no, I said watch. What the hell is going on? I love this behind the scenes shit.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I know that that some other reactors have done this video, so I'm going to try to bring something different. I'm not going to do too much of explaining that groove, because there are many videos on YouTube already showing you exactly how to play this groove. Something that I'm going to talk about that maybe Rick Beato touched on in a video, and I don't think anyone really, or not enough people, have talked about on YouTube. first, this groove has this rolling. It's to say speed up, slow down isn't the right way to put it, but it has this lope. There's a really famous video that Rick Beato, the grandmaster of all music, music teacher, YouTuber guys, he's the Gandalf and the Dumbledore, where he shows that this song, if you put it to a grid, this groove, if you put it to the grid, does not snap to it, right? It's not perfectly in time. But what it is perfectly in and up and down on that lope, and it's what gives it the feel. He fixes it, right? He quantitizes it, or whatever you fucking say, and the groove dies. Part of the groove is the human element of letting the groove breathe, and that's what you're hearing. The hardest part about this groove is the high opener one. It's on the lay of the one. And of course, we're playing in triplets. And if you've got really nice headphones on, and I do, you can hear the rest of the band playing at the same time. That's a key element to what Led Zeppelin was about. And let's go on that rant there. The reason why that 60s and 70s is so thought of in such high regard is, man, I'm not saying that if you record what we call slow tracking, where you record one track at a time, you lay down the drums, put the bass and guitar and keyboards, whatever. Many great records have been made that way, obviously, and I've done that too. But when you're listening to a Led Zeppelin record, you're listening to four men doing it at the same time. Oh, that sounds weird. But you're listening to real music being made in real time, right? You can hear, if you have really nice headphones, you can hear in the background what's being caught on the microphones. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably the 3-microphone Glenn Johns. Is that right? Glenn Johns? Andy Johns? Which one? One's his brother, or one's his son, the other one's dad. The recording of him was very open with the miking. There was not a lot of close miking. You were getting the room, and you were going to get bleed from the band playing, and that's something that not enough people talk about. So many bands, Greta Van Fleet, try to get this, right, to touch this, but you can't do it slow tracking, man. You got to go in there and you got to make that magic together. So much is made of John Bonham's power. Not enough is made about his finesse. And that groove right there is tricky. He's keeping that same bass drum pattern going, but then in his right hand on the ride bell, he's playing a quarter note triplet over top of that same exact pattern. There's some independence in there that not a lot of rock drummers have. That's probably the hardest part of the groove is getting that quarter note triplet through there. Yeah, you can hear you can hear Robert singing in the vocals, or in the drum mics. That's cool. That's not easy right there. And he's sped up this much, and there ain't a goddamn thing wrong with that. Humans. I said this on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe longer than a few weeks ago. Because we have the ability to make perfect recordings, that doesn't necessarily mean we should. And I think that ability to make perfect recordings has taken away the human element. Jimmy Page said specifically he came from a studio background where they made these perfect recordings with a metronome. And when Led Zeppelin got together, his number one modus operandi right off the bat from a recording standpoint was he was not going to use a metronome. They were going to get in a room and they were going to play this fucking song over and over and over until it got good. And if it sped up, slowed down, who gives a shit? You've listened to this song for your whole life and you've loved it, and you've never realized that it sped up just a little bit going through that second chorus. It actually settles back down right there. It's pushing a little bit there. That bridge, right? That kind of like the carnival bridge right there. Let's talk about the sound of John Bonham's drums. I think that in the rock and roll world, that really drums didn't really sound great in recordings until Led Zeppelin 1. Not to say that there wasn't great recorded rock drums. Now, in the jazz world, drums always sounded great. But in the jazz world, drums don't have to cut through distorted guitars, right? And electric basses. So all those Rudy Van Gelder records, those drums sound pristine, right? That's chef's kiss. Man, look, go back and listen to the drums on like Jimi Hendrix records. Those drums are phenomenal. They're fucking played by one of the greatest drummers of all time, but that's some lo-fi shit, right? Whatever Glenn Johns did, he figured out how to record John Bonham and have the best fidelity of the time of drums, and a big part of it. And I think there was probably some after effects put on. I think maybe there was some reverb sometimes, but a lot of times he didn't close mic everything. You know, the Bonham, Glenn Johns technique. I hope it's Glenn. Is it Andy? Andy or Glenn? Tell me in the comment section. Tell me I'm dumb. Because, like, Andy's his son, or vice versa. I know too much random shit about music. I get it mixed up. But it's 3 microphones. It's bass drum. I think there's a microphone here and a microphone off to the side. And then I think a lot of times he would add on room mics. So when you heard those bass drum, that especially that bass drum, you're not hearing what the bass drum sounds like right up against the microphone. You're hearing it, what it sounds like when you're playing in a room. You're letting that sound produce and go out into the environment that it's being recorded in. And that's something that's lost, I think. Although, like, White Stripes brought that bit shit back and grunge a little bit. But that's one of my favorite things. Everything about John Bonham is my favorite thing. But one of my favorite things is the way they sound. His drums sound like monstrous, big musical tubs of glory, you know what I'm saying? And that's a lot to do with the engineer and his touch, obviously. That bass drum. You could put, you know, Empire State Building on that bass drum and it would be supported. What happened? Is that it? No! It cut off! It cuts off after the big 30-second note drum fill. Aww. Well, okay. We all know what happens next. It's that groove again. They just don't make recordings like that of drums anymore. There are great drummers making making those great drum tracks, but man, just the sound of it and the feel of it and the feel of playing in the same room. And I've made records like that, and they're the most enjoyable to make. They're also the most difficult records to make, because you have to kind of enter into a pact with the rest of the musicians that if you're trying to get that one take where the magic is there, the mojo's there, and everybody's nailed their part for the most part, you may have to eat it on maybe a small mistake that you made, because maybe the guitar player and the bass player and the keyboard player nailed it, and maybe you just have a little, and you have to have the respect for the art that you're making to set aside your ego and say, okay, I've got this little mistake that in today's age is very easy to go back and fix, but because the whole piece is great, despite my little fuck up, I'm going to just let it go, right? There's a lot of that going on. If there is a straight up, it's not a mistake, but it's a straight up kind of that happens during the swing part of the ocean, right? And unless you know what you're listening for, you won't catch it. But it happened, right? And John Bonham said the track that we took, we did 4 already, and now we're steady. That was fine. That made it work. That track was made better, even with maybe just a little bit of a, right? So I was trying to bring something new to this, because again, I know other reactors have done it, and I know that this is one of the most fetished over tracks, drum tracks ever. The thing I hope to get from this video is, if you're in a band and you want to try to make some magic, don't slow track. Get in a studio situation where you all 3, 4, 5, 6, or however many of you can perform at the same time and get good fidelity recordings of each instrument, and try to nail the song. It's so easy in the studio to just slow track and go over and over and over and over until you perfect it. Man, sometimes that perfection is not bueno. It's sometimes it takes away from it. Hopefully you noticed the sound of the room in the drums. That's something that maybe you can't hear if you're on your cell phone, but if you put this on with some really nice headphones. Part of the mystique of John Bonham's sound was it wasn't close mic'd. You were hearing the environment that the drums lived in, and that magic came through on these greatest recordings of any of the greatest rock and roll band of all time. So I hope y'all enjoyed all that. Again, thank you everyone for your support. It means the world to me, because I'm just some dumb hillbilly in a small little dark corner of the YouTube trying to create a resource for drummers and musicians to hopefully glean something from. And much to my surprise, a lot of non-musicians watch my videos. Like, that blows me away, and I'm very, very humbled by everyone's support. Like I said, I'm moving. It's the last video from this house. Next time you see me, it will be in a completely new, different, way more cooler house than I'm at now, because it's a townhouse and it's kind of small. And I'm going to take May off, because I've been hitting this shit real hard, especially during the whole pandemic. I was putting out 10, 12 videos a month, and I need a little break, right? I need a little break from it. So you're not going to see me until June, but if you start worrying about me, I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right back, right? So everyone, thank you all very, very much. Happy 2nd anniversary to myself. Happy new house to myself. And keep practicing until it's easy.